So it is all open floor. So
Dot floor, right? In
uh,
JavaScript, you floor it.
math dot floor, open
Yeah.
math dot
Yeah, you
floor.
said it's
Yeah.
got the floor.
Yeah. How's everybody's I am behind on grading, of course, but I will get everybody feedback on every of their assignments. Even if it's just nice job. Sometimes like if it's just basic and straightforward, that's all I'll say, but I'm gonna have some feedback on everything. And yeah, so there's the 2 weekend projects. So the assignments for this week, I mean, of course, they're not they're all officially due tomorrow, but feel free to turn them in late too. That's fine.
I have been doing 11:59 p.m. becomes
Yeah,
like
it
2
doesn't.
a.m.
It's just it's it would be nice to get it by then, because I need to sort of get a do my report to Jesse and
Right.
everything, and I'll have to use whatever homework feedback I can get from that by next week. So anyway, okay, let's do something. Cool. Amelia, do you want to share your screen and talk about your wireframe? Or
Oh,
do
sure.
you have questions about it?
The questions will probably come at 2 a.m. Sunday.
Uh-huh.
But I
Well,
can share my wireframe. I have it on paper, so I'll have to hold it up to the screen. Is that okay?
sure.
Okay, let's do this. I don't know if you can see it.
Let me see.
This is
Uh,
the page, the opening page. And what I did was I found that for me, it was easier to draw each page out on separate pieces of paper and attach them to each other instead
yeah.
of drawing everything out on one small piece of paper and trying to figure out where. But anyway, this was
No,
what I
that
did.
makes
So I have,
that makes tons of sense. Yeah.
okay, so I have the first pages here with the instructions as to how I would want everything to move around, if anything is moving around at all on the first page. This is what the second window or page would look like.
Okay.
I have third page is down here with instructions as to what everything will look like
So
as it's
so
navigating across.
so each of these are part of your what is that second word? I can't see that
Second word, right where my
in the
finger
menu
is.
in the menu. So you start with, yeah, I don't, I'm trying to understand. So you're going through those 3 drawings and dolls.
Yeah, I
And
make dolls also. I do artwork, I do illustration, and I also
okay.
make dolls. So I'm trying to plot out where each item will be. Like the
Okay.
illustrations will be on one page and the dolls will be on a separate page. And then I'll have one page showing the work that I've actually sold to
Okay.
date or something like that. And then I'll have a page for somebody sees something that they want to purchase, which will be up in here. So it'll be like a little shopping cart attached to it. And
Okay.
there's another page up in here somewhere that just fell off the page, but that's basically the
Cool. Is
framework for this.
Yeah, and you have some descriptions like you're gonna. I think I saw in the large window you're gonna display the picture. So when you click on one of the small
This one right
pictures,
here.
yeah, when you select one of the things on the bottom, it's gonna make a large
Right.
version. Okay.
When you select a thumbnail, it will take you to, that's set up. It will take you to the slightly larger image, which will be the art. The art page will have a drop down, or the art menu will have a drop down that will take you into 3
Oh,
subcategories for that product, where I'll
okay.
show the individual illustrations and then the dolls. So
Cool.
each drawing will have its own page where it can be viewed separate from the other artwork. And then the person will be able to navigate from the single picture back to another single picture
Okay.
or navigate back to the home page and just move throughout the website.
Cool. That's sounds like, I mean, that it sounds like you have a nice idea of the structure, which I think is really, I mean, that means you're going to be you're kind of front loading a lot of this work that some people kind of forget to do, which is really start like try to understand the structure beyond just, there's this tab, this tab, this tab. Like you're really thinking about how the things connect and what happens when you take each action. I think structuring it around the actions that the user will take, the specific things they do, and then the transitions that happen is like a really good way to think about it. So once you get to coding it, you won't be kind of like realizing, oh wait, I didn't think what happens when you do this. If you're I think that looks very cool.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions about classwork or homework work, or if we want to, maybe somebody else does too. But yeah, I should do more of that kind of wireframing in my job, but often it's like just build it. And right now I'm in a project where it's like actually other people are doing wireframe designs and stuff. Does anyone want to go about their capstone or about homework?
I wanted to show you the beginnings of the wireframe that I'm actually doing in Envision. Yes, I'm getting along with Envision, but I'm going into my Finder and it's like a whole bunch of stuff isn't even in my Finder. So I'm trying to figure that out. It's like all of a sudden it's gone, like the folders, the directories,
Can you share your screen?
Sure.
Yeah, Karen, that's a good point. I mean, this is pretty cool to see, like, there's already like so much, people, Karen pointed out, like, look how much you've like learned in the first 7 weeks and like how everybody's talking about wireframes and we're literate in like web pages, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It's pretty cool. And there's a lot to do, but so you are looking for something that you made in Envision?
I don't have my CIC. I don't have the stuff that I had in the sidebar.
Well,
I had it last night.
Yeah, so you have a folder called CIC code on the desktop.
That's like the shortcut to it, though. I mean,
okay. Well, so the thing about this side thing is that you've lost all of your so here's what I think might be happening, Carolyn. Are you dragging those locations? Are you clicking and dragging those locations somewhere else? Because that locations down below, that should have more stuff. That should have desktop. I don't see anything there on the left there that says desktop, and that's
right.
That's not how mine looks. So
yeah, and I didn't know if maybe there's a how you get into check what you show in the sidebar.
I don't know either, but I think
I've done it before.
Yeah. Karen, do you know show view options, customize toolbar?
No, that's not.
No.
But it's like I just opened it and it's like, and everything was fine before I went to bed.
Carolyn, I think maybe you have like
show view options right down here.
No, I don't think that's it. Oh.
There's another part though where you can get more global for the sidebar. But anyway, so I do have a shortcut. You're right. Or whatever it is.
Try this.
It might be in settings, Gus, like actual settings, because it looks like she's got everything in iCloud.
Which I didn't do. I mean, I don't know how.
No, Yeah, I think, Carolyn, I think you have like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde personality who woke up when you went to bed and then dragged your desktop from that left side locations list out of that window until a little X appeared and then let it go, which is like, if you drag those things out of there, they disappear, they go away. And
Yeah, and I
I
didn't
can,
do that. That's the thing. All right,
well,
so
that was
let's,
Mr.
oh,
Hyde. That was the other person.
yeah, well, let's,
Uh,
I just clicked on the one that is on the desktop, so let's just continue here.
Okay.
This,
That's not going to be
capstone.
in her. That's not in her desktop though. That's in her iCloud drive.
Well, right now, let's not worry about
Wait.
that. I just want to show what I have.
Wait.
Is that okay?
Yeah, this, I think, Karen, this is the local desktop. Yeah. So, hey, oh, I got it. I know what to do. Maybe. See at the bottom, there's Carolyn Sprague at the bottom. Okay, we can, okay.
All right, at the bottom.
A little bit to the left.
There.
Yeah. So desktop in there. Try just dragging that over to the locations. See if that works. No.
I'm
Maybe.
in there though. Why
Right,
don't
but
we deal with that after?
okay, sure.
All right, where was I? Where'd you go? Okay, I gotta move you guys up there. Now I can see. Okay, that's not it. Okay, hold on. I got it open. All right, hold on. There's a quicker way to do this. I will do it.
Hmm.
I
I
didn't
found
come
the
as far to not
I
be able
found
to.
how to
Okay,
fix.
here we go. Do you need me to make it bigger?
No, I can see it.
Okay, the stuff on the right is just stuff I was kind of working with, and I was changing my mind as I went along. So, but you can kind of see, can everyone see it?
Yep. I can. I don't it's big enough for me.
So, I mean, this is still, but there's going to be a line connecting galleries to affirmations, connecting galleries to photo, connecting galleries to quotations. So you see that it's all part of that. And
Okay.
the galleries itself won't be clickable. It's kind of like a map that you can go into the affirmations section. I haven't made that page yet, and so forth. And then there's going to be the mental health resources. I haven't figured where I want to put those yet. But anyway, that's going to go over here somewhere. And the journal section, that's the journal and the galleries are the real big deal in this thing. So
Okay.
in the journal, I'm going to do, again, I'm going to break it out so that there's one bubble that says journal, and then there's a line leading down to the gratitude and the reflections journal. And
Okay.
again, the journal won't be a hot link, but the thing it leads to will be. So that's 2 more pages. And then I want to put a section that has resources. So either names of organizations, contacts, books, that kind of thing. And for all these things, I'm not going to do them to completion. I'm just going to populate with a little bit to give an example, but then the user will be able to search and put in there what they want to. And then as an icing on the cake, which is not going to be in my capstone, it's just going to be not a working part, but I'm thinking some kind of a calendar feature might be nice too. And that's just like to say this will come like with the next release of this.
Okay. Yeah. Coming soon.
But this is pretty good because I was actually able to do all this in InVision, and I was having trouble even with my InVision account initially. It was not working. So the rest is up here or scribbled on paper, but this is like major progress for me.
That's cool. I'm wondering what is like that section where it says home and about at the top. And like, let's see, logo. Yeah, all of that real estate at the top there. I feel like some of your links, they could go in, like a drop down menu that so I mean, you could have galleries at the top and then have the other ones pop out, and you could have resources at the top and then the options pop out from there. And then you'd have all of the the space inside the page because that's a very common pattern. If you want, I can share my screen and just really quick show you like
Yeah, that'd be great.
The app I work on. We're always constantly being like, oh, we should move. Yeah, could you? Well, actually, I think I can just start.
Want me to unshare for a
No,
minute?
I can do it because I'm the host, I think. Okay.
You have the power.
Yes. So, whoops. So like this is like a common pattern. This is the product that I work on, and it's got navigation across the top. Now, these each are like just links, but like, for example, this one over here, this admin.
Or support.
Well, it doesn't, yeah. It has like more things under it.
Yes.
So you can go to like
drop down.
This, I don't like this page, but it's still around. But like, developer page, and each of these items could have more options that pop out underneath it. And then some of them could just be links. But like you could put all of your things across the top like this, and then everything below it, you get to oh, by the way, this is our office in Syracuse. We can see when people are there. Wait, it doesn't work. Wait a minute. Oh, this one has been, we disconnected this to do a test. This is our factory in Syracuse. You see how many people show up every day.
So when I'm on a page other than the landing page, homepage, you would want to be able to click on home to get back.
Right, but the idea is that this top section is always the same, so that no matter which page you're on, you can click on a different section always, and these never move around, so that this is a sort of a common pattern, so that people learn to sort of use the top section as like a overall navigation.
Yeah, which is a lot more than they used to do. I mean, it used to be, and then they had tabs and they had the whole that stuff. So yeah, I get what you're saying. And but it would also, in addition to being along in the header, in the nav, and down in the footer, which I don't know if you could see that or not, it would also be like the gallery and all that would be right there in the middle of the page too.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a home page
So
where you
looks redundant, but this is the home page.
Right. But if you have the home page, then that's where you would put them in, but then keep some version of each of those at the top on every other page. Yeah.
Right. And that's part of your navigate. They used to use breadcrumbs and stuff like that. That's part of helping the user know where they are. And you have all the same links. They're all in the same order. They're all in the same place. Right. But when you're on the page of that link, it's going to do something. Either be bold or purple.
A breadcrumb is still a pattern. That is for navigating like a tree. Like we have one of those, but that's for navigating, in our case, from a building to a floor to a room. Like it's when you do kind of traversing through a tree of objects, more than just on basic page navigation,
right?
For us, like it's still used in a lot of places. Yeah, that's yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. Yep. And my class that I had with Dave Lankus in 1999, this stuff is still valid. It's just we change how we do it. But I everything really stuck in here about you got to let the user know where they are. They didn't develop this thing. So, whatever you do.
I think in general, what I'm saying is like when the user clicks on another section in your website, the whole page shouldn't totally change necessarily. And I'm not saying like, look, there's a good reason to do this. If you have a good reason to do this, of course, break any rule. But like generally, you want to leave some of the page looking pretty much the same no matter where you go, because otherwise people will get lost on your website.
And that's where doing the other wireframes and the coding will get easier, because it will almost be like a template surround the header and the footer and definitely. All right, I got what you're saying, and I will play with that some more after I get all my JavaScript homework done.
Cool.
which is like 2 weeks worth. Okay. Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate your feedback. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to share. I'm open. Really,
Yeah.
you can say whatever you want. It sucks, quit your idea, quit the code camp. Go back into librarianship, but
Hey.
seriously, I really appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, and
good.
cheers to learning InVision. You're off to a really good start, and once the building the comfort with the tools is like such, so like your progress, it's gonna kind of go like this. As you get better with all the tools, it's definitely going to accelerate, because so much of your energy right now is just on figuring out the tools,
Yeah, trying to get your lines to connect. And the thing is, I couldn't even get to that stage because I had signed in to an account before class, and we actually did the sign in during class. And when I did, I made some choices that it turns out we weren't supposed to. And then, so I couldn't even like use InVision during all that. So it's like playing catch up on getting that.
Yeah.
It's a good tool though. But thank you. I appreciate your.
Yeah. Just, stick with it. I figured out the Finder thing. It's called Finder. There's a menu called the Finder menu, the name of the Finder. Then you go to Preferences, like Karen said, and then there's a section called Sidebar, and you can recheck desktop to get it back.
There it is.
That's how you get it back.
Except they're all checked.
All right, why don't you stick around? We'll try to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from other people's issues unless this helps them. So I'm here. I'm not really going anywhere. Like I said, I chained myself to the dining room table. So I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, I'll stay after the.
That's great. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you.
All right. Who's next?
Oh, did you already shut me off, right? Ms. Chair?
There's I was sharing and then I stopped sharing. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions, or do you just want to see some stuff? I'm going to do some JavaScript tricks, free code camp exercises. Any questions about, I want to learn more about arrays. You just want to see some tricks. You want, okay.
Weren't you going to show us? I'm sorry to jump in. This is Latonia. You said you were going to show us something extra with that card trick. Was it shuffling or something?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Although I have been struggling with arrays. I got through the homework, but it was a very tedious experience. So if you wanted to run through some of those,
You mean the free code camp exercises? Okay. Here, I'll share my screen and first, I'll show you in the card trick. I was Karen Baxter. I was sending her some because she's doing a thing with the tarot cards. So I sent this thing will draw a random tarot card, because the same deck cards thing, you can like make a tarot deck and it works the same way, and it tells you cards, but they're like different, the tarot 3 of wands instead of the other suits and all that. Anyway, so the part that I was going to add is in the card trick after.js, and I will grab the code that we ended with class in and then add this, but it's basically this function here. Or let's just talk about this. So it's all there. There's basically the same setup that we did in class. I didn't do the SIGINT thing. I forgot this one. But it shouldn't matter in this trick, because you only pick the number a couple times. This allows you to quit with Control-C, and I forgot to do that here. So the after version of this file has everything else. I think it has our function where we make a brand new deck of cards, shuffle them, make our new array for the card rows, and 3 times we draw 7 cards and push them in to this. You could do this in a loop, but the loop would be 3 lines anyway. So I'm like, it doesn't matter. Yes, and then we convert the card to its symbol by pulling out the short name. We found this from the structure of the card, and then from our suit symbols that we sort up here. And this one, I think I did the upper snake case. I think in the example in class too.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that again. I know you've told me a couple times, but just to get a better understanding of why you would use that, when you would use it.
So basically, it's used for true constants, and so things that are basically never going to change whenever in your program at all. So in this case, the suit clubs is never not going to be like, if I want a dictionary of an object that just stores all the symbols so I can access them with the name of the suit, they're never going to change while my program is running. So because it's data that you need, that your program needs to access and that you're storing in your source code, but it's not data that the computer is going to like operate on. It's not data the computer is really going to manipulate. So this is just sort of a way to call out whenever you see this somewhere, that this is not it's not something that you that could be different from time to time. It's just a visual cue that tells you that hey, this is just something I've defined once, and it's just a name of, you know, this thing mapping. Yeah.
So it's
you
almost
should never,
like a little dictionary.
it's just a dictionary. Yeah, it's like a dictionary
It's a-
lookup in this case. Now, it doesn't have to be an object. You could say,
It's a function too, right?
well, no, I don't think I would ever make a function
Because it's got
with
the
name
bracy
like this.
thingies.
No, this is an object. This is an object
The whole
literally.
thing is okay, that's another
So-
thing I got to get straight. Okay,
So if you wanted to make this a function, you would have to use a function keyword or the little arrow, some kind of X and an
Arrows.
arrow,
yeah,
or, you know, and then obviously all of this would now be invalid because you can't just have a line of JavaScript that looks like that. But yeah,
right. Okay, it's an object. Okay.
it's an object literal, yeah. But
And-
this pattern, something you want to just store and give a name. I mean, this could be like, remember when we did the seconds in the year example?
Yes.
If I was following the same convention here, I could say seconds in minute. And it doesn't have to be an object. It could still be just the number 60. And you could still say, well, I'm going to use this pattern anyway, because I want, and this is extremely like verbose way of, you know, it is just the number 60, but it's perfectly valid to say in your program, well, the number of seconds in a minute is never going to change. Number one, I want it to jump out whenever I'm using it. I want to understand that the intent is to use the number of seconds in the minute. Number two, and I'd like to use this style just as an extra cue that it's like, I'm definitely not manipulating this. I'm not changing this ever. So that's why you might, you know, use this style just for a number, for example. So it could be any value here, except I can't think of why I would ever use a function for this that's got this style, because a function kind of inherently is a process. It's not just a value, you know, it can't
like a little
just
program within a program sort of.
Yeah. So a function is never really just data. A function is behavior, you know, so it kind of doesn't fit into this whole paradigm.
So the suit symbols, the computer is not actually going to physically do it or whatever, do anything with each of those, but they still play part in how we get the computer to manipulate other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the computer is still going to access this and it's going to write some data when I create it, but
Okay,
we're never going to change. We're never going to say,
it's not gonna, yeah.
suit, or my intent is never to say clubs equals, like an emoji or something. I think you could put like let's see. How do you like get an emoji keyboard on the Mac? I'm sure there's some way.
Oh, yeah, well, actually up in your menu, I have the shortcut to it along the top.
I could do this.
It's
Little triangle. But
yeah,
the point is that I'm never going to overwrite the symbol for clubs. I mean, that's just not what the program is ever going to do. So
right, that's not the purpose of it. And you need to have some data stored that you can bring in. So it is a dictionary and an object.
well, an object can be thought of as similar to a dictionary. An object maps some string to something. And this side doesn't have to be a string, but an object is, you could think of it kind of like a dictionary. And in fact, in Python, this structure is called a dictionary in Python. It maps a string, some kind of string of text here. Because there's no spaces in this one, and you don't have to wrap it in strings, but it is a string.
Mm-hmm.
And this over here could be anything, but this is like the definition of this sort of,
Yep. Okay, I'm just starting to, yeah. Thank you.
But the thing we added, the thing we were going to add is this shuffle function. Now, here's where it's used. So what I've done is, let me try to demonstrate this. What I've done is when we render our cards out to the screen, so we need to, like Latonia, if you remember for the trick, we need to keep the cards in the right order, and we need to deal them out into the 3 rows down here with this crazy. We could go through this again if you want a refresher on what's going on here, but this is where we redeal. Actually, we can do a visual analogy of this too, but this is where we redeal the cards into 3 new rows across, this row, then this, then this, then this, then this, and this, all the way out until we're out of cards again. We need to keep the cards in a very careful order for the math, for the logic of the trick to work. You're always picking the middle pile and then dealing across. It sort of gently kind of pushes the card over, over 3 or 4 deals into that middle spot, where then you can say, aha, here's your card once it's there. But so we can't mess with the order of these rows other than to do our shuffling. We have to basically be very careful to keep the cards in the right order the whole time we're doing the trick. But if we say, well, hey, whenever I'm going to render the cards, why don't I just, instead of rendering them in the order that the row is given to me, I'll render them in a random order. Now you have to keep the row as the row because the user has to pick which row it's in. And that's part of the working, how the trick works. But the row itself, you're not asking the user which position it's in. So it doesn't matter which order you show that row to the user. So what we can do is say, we'll keep the cards internally, always in the order that the careful order that we're using to make the trick work. But when we render them, so when we show them to the screen, at this point, we will basically just add this call here. Instead, we'll shuffle the cards so that the user, Carolyn, we shuffle what we're showing to the user. So we convert the cards to symbols. So we take that row, map it with this card to symbol, convert it to symbols, and then we just shuffle the symbols before we show them to the user. So internally, the row never gets shuffled. The data that the computer is working on that has those card objects is never shuffled. But we shuffle the symbols that we're going to show the user right before we show them to the user, so that it gives the effect of the cards being shuffled, but the computer has still kept its order of everything, and the trick won't break. So we need to write this shuffle function. We're going to map our card, our card row, which remember it's an array of those card objects. They're not tarot cards like this. They're, playing cards, but let's wait. Let me, I'll just run the trick real quick so we can get a refresher. Node card trick after. And actually, before I do this, I will remove this call to shuffle. So the rows will not be shuffled as it was at the end of class. So let's pick 9 of hearts, row 3. 9 of hearts, row 3 still. And notice how it's slowly inching towards that center spot. 9 of hearts, it's row 1. Now it's in the spot. And it knows that it's the 9 of hearts. So, so this, we are, the row that we render is just an array that has those card objects. And then we take that row and we map it to the symbols, which turns it into an array of strings like this, a single one array, because this is one row. We're inside this for each, which we're going to do once for each row. So we're doing this one, then this one, then this one. But at this point, we have an array of card symbols, and we need to add some function that says mix up those card symbols and give us an array back. Same structure, same, an array of card strings like this, but they should be in a random order. So that's what we do with our shuffle function. And this, well, now it's dim because I removed the call to the shuffle function, but shuffle function is going to take in an array and return an array. And I might have just pulled this from the internet. I bet you can find something very similar to this just by saying shuffle array JavaScript. How to randomize a JavaScript array. Yep, I bet I pulled this exact code because it looks like, so I think I probably copied this right from this exact Stack Overflow. It looks like the same thing, the same names for everything. But they have some comments here. So it looks like what we do is, they use an interesting, they use an interesting style. This is a way to declare three variables really quick, but the second and third one will not have anything assigned to them. So this is the same thing as saying let temporary value with nothing assigned to it, and then let random index. So I forgot to even mention that shorthand. I don't like using that because it's not explicit enough, and I am generally like very avoidant of surprising stuff in JavaScript. If you haven't, I don't like doing the if on one line without the quotes. I don't like doing this. I like putting these. So it's the same kind of thing. I'm definitely like wary of this technique, but the reason it's that technique is because I copied it right from Stack Overflow, and the person who wrote it used that technique. So what are you going to do? But it's the same as if we said let current index equals array length, temporary value, random index. And let's try to figure out what's going on here. So we start after the end of the array. So remember, arrays indexes start at 0. So the array length is actually not a valid index. It's going to be the index 1 after the array ends, really. The length number, the number for the array, which is why you always do for let I equals 0, I is less than array dot length, because the indexes start at 0. So length is like actually not even a valid index. So that starts, yeah. And then we make two other variables that we may need called temporary value and random index. So it looks like what we're going to do is just count back from the current index, because every time we loop through here, we're going to subtract 1 from the current index. But before, so we're going to do this once for every element. It's apparently this is starting at the end of the array and counting back each time the loop runs. But before that, this is a little tricky because remember we use this kind of structure to do a random index for a dice for the 6 possible indexes of the dice. And those indexes were 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But we were multiplying math random by 6 because math random could never return exactly the value 1. It will return a value between 0 and 1, but never exactly 1. So to get the dice, we multiply by 6, even though the indexes go 0 through 5. It's the same kind of thing here. We have array length and we multiply. See, the first time we're going to multiply by current index, that's still too far to be an array index, but it's the same thing as the dice. We're going to get a valid index from this because this will be 0 through just before the length of the array. In this case, the arrays will always be 7 long that we're shuffling because they're these rows of 7 cards. But this is just a general, this will shuffle any array of any length. So we get a random index that is the first time through this loop, it's any element in the entire array because current index is the array length. But immediately we're going to subtract 1 from that current index and start kind of moving in from the end of the array and only selecting a random index from this part, then this part, then this part. And let's see, how does then this work? Temporary value, we grab the item at the current index, and then we swap it with the random index. And this is a way to shuffle. So you just you're basically picking first the end item, you get a current index, you get a random index of anything, including that one. And you've already subtracted 1 from it. So now this is valid. Man, this is a tricky algorithm. I should probably just stop. This is very tricky to understand how this works, but you're picking anything in the array and then swapping it with the last item. So you pick the last item in the array, you swap it with any random item in the array. And see, current becomes random and random becomes temporary, which is just the way that you did the switcheroo. You have to assign 1 to temporary, assign this to 1, assign temporary to this. It's like 3 moves to swap them. You can't swap them just by assigning, just by going ahead and assigning current to random, by assigning the value in the random index to the current index. You can't just do that right away because then you've lost your item at your current index. So you need to store it in this temporary thing, and then switch it back. Anyway, this is the first time I've ever unpacked how this thing works. I think the last time I just copied it right from Stack Overflow and didn't even think about it because it works. But that's kind of how it works. It counts down from the end of the array, picks the item, picks a random item, swaps them, and then continues. It picks one from the shorter part of the array, picks a random one, swaps them, and does that once for every element in the array. And then because of how it works, partly because of that, it could end up picking itself as the random one and swapping with itself. I think this leads to a truly random order of the items in the array. Yeah, this is probably exactly how deck.shuffle all works internally. I mean, we could go look at this on GitHub and see if they copied the code from Stack Overflow too, which is very possible. Let's look. I'm going to go to the NPM registry. This is where you can look up NPM package details, and anything that's published on NPM, we got cards. It was, remember, we NPM install cards. I can just look for cards. And npmjs.com. And this looks like the thing we installed, basic playing cards module. So click on this. And it gives you some, I mean, this gives you your documentation. So this tells you how to use it. This is where I got the way to use it. Shuffle all. But we can actually go right to the source code because there's a thing here that says repository. So if you're like, well, I still can't figure it out from your documentation, I need to go start unpacking your source code. We can go to the repository over here and then see if they use a shuffle src. Oh boy. Unicode utils, maybe that's got a shuffle. Nope. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to go back. I'm going to search shuffle all. And you notice the first option says in this repository. So I'm putting the, this is not the best search. It doesn't always work, but let's see if they shuffle all. What is this? HTML, shuffle all. Where is it defined? Here we go. Deck, shuffle all. This is, I think these are tab characters. They're not even spaces. Their indents are tabs. Held, discard. Push, held, shuffle. Where's this? Shuffle. Wow, this is a real nest of code. You got to find shuffle here. Require, oh, this pulls shuffle from a dependency called random utils. So you could say, I don't even care. Here, let's look up this. You could just say, I don't care how to shuffle anything, an array. I don't even want to think about it. Not only am I not even going to look on Stack Overflow about this, I'm going to go to rand utils, which is what this person did, a randomization utilities module. Okay, so this probably has something very similar called shuffle, and it might be the person who commented on Stack Overflow. Who knows? It doesn't have a README. What kind of nonsense is this person using? They're using this weird repository that doesn't have a README. Let's see. We'll go to the source code. Int generator shuffle. Yep, it's the same algorithm. So generator, yikes. What's in student random integer. Yeah. It's doing the same kind of thing, but it's just in a very different structure because of their weird, Anyway, this person chose to say, well, I know about this package from apparently my friend who wrote random utils because I've never even heard of this and nobody uses this thing, but they've heard about it somewhere. So they used it in their card deck thing. Maybe it's the same person, 2 stars. Okay. Anyway, it's the same algorithm though. It does the same thing. The person on Stack Overflow calls this the Fisher-Yates or Knuth shuffle. And you can, it says, see here for more information about it. Could the code example, do you mean the shuffle function, or are you getting fatigued from me bouncing around source code? Oh, with the
I meant
while?
the stuff you're getting from a Codepedia source that is like, you said there's a lot of nesting and stuff and it's really hard to pull apart, but could we
Well,
take that code and, I don't want to say clean it up because it implies it's not good
It's-
code, and I don't mean that, but is
Yeah,
there a way
it's
to maybe, you know,
not so the person who wrote that Dex thing, I mean, we saw like, yeah, there's a lot of different files. There's a lot of functions that are calling other functions that are calling other functions. But the thing is, I wouldn't go so far as to say that can be cleaned up, because what happens as you'll probably notice some of this while you're working on your capstone. I don't know if it will get to the point of complexity where you'll really start to be making the same choices that somebody who writes like a general purpose playing card thing. But when you're writing code that's supposed to be very general purpose, you often find that like if you wrote like the function to do some trivial thing like shuffle or pick a random index or whatever, if you did that code every time you were going to do that in your whole library, it would be all over the place. There would be duplication over and over and over.
Yep.
So a lot of times when you see more general purpose code, you will see more functions calling functions that do one little piece, because a lot of people prefer to make, it's called just making an abstraction over this very weird, very kind of esoteric, confusing little bit of like what's going on. You abstract that with a function. The problem is that can go too far. And one of the really common traps that professional programmers, like good programmers who are being paid to do it, actually still fall into, is over abstraction, doing too much abstraction. So you say, oh, I have a function here that, let's see, I want to get a concrete example for this. So arc4 generator. I don't want to criticize this code. I don't really understand it.
That's not my
hypothetically, there's like some function here where it's like, I want to be able to, I mean, it like here, this, apparently you need to get a given pseudo random number generator function. And this, rather than, where is this? Generator, and what is this? Generator returns this. Get generator. What's the difference? I don't even, so maybe this is anyway, this thing here, it doesn't even just use math.random. It's like I can choose this style, arc4 pseudo random generator and simple generator and a default, and this, and my function will handle all these different cases, and it will be called from over here, and it will use the arc4 thing, and it will be called from here, and it'll be this, and the function becomes so confusing because it's been generalized to such a point that it's very hard to look at it and unpack what's going on.
Right.
And then what really gets you though is not just that your function is so abstract and it has so much variability and general, it's that you build in variability that you don't need at all. You build in like, oh, it can do this and it can do this and it can do this. And oh, what if in a month from now, we're going to need this other thing. You build and then you end up with the wrong abstraction. You end up with an abstraction that is very complicated, but complicated for no good reason, for like a reason you're not even using. So there are two kind of like sayings that relate to this. One is prefer duplication over the wrong abstraction.
Yep.
So this is basically, this is a more recent, like in the last 10 or, this is definitely post-millennial programming meme. It's not something that was like in the 90s, everybody was abstracting, and there was like, the more abstraction, the better programmer you were. Like you just have abstract factory, this, that, I'm going to make a factory of this, which takes this, and then that was like how you kind of showed off that you were a good programmer. And then there's kind of a backlash. Man, is this in the last 5 years maybe that this kind of crystallized into, I don't know whoever coined this phrase, but yeah, it might be 2016. Duplication is far cheaper than the wrong abstraction. Oh, 2014. Yeah. So if your abstraction is the wrong abstraction, you're going to have a terrible time because nobody will understand what you're doing. So sometimes duplication is okay. Like this is partly why when I say my initial impulse to put this in a loop, I mean, it's 3 lines anyway, like I'm pretty sure a loop wouldn't be the wrong abstraction here, but I don't want to make the mistake of being over eager to do abstraction. So I honestly think this might be like bad, you might understand this the wrong way. I am not saying don't use abstraction. I think one of the things, the assignment to move code into a function, that's abstraction. That is learning to do abstraction. If you are writing all of your code all the way down the page, just, this step, this step, this step, and not moving anything into functions, that's probably not enough abstraction. So I think most of you are still kind of like learning to use function abstractions and loop abstractions and these kinds of things for the first time. So definitely don't say like never use any of that because it's too much abstraction. It's probably not yet, but you might get to a point where you're like, oh, I can make a function that takes parameters to control every tiny little possible variation in what my program might need to do a year from now. And if you find yourself thinking that, just maybe it's the wrong abstraction. Yeah. Does that make sense? Should I try to re-say that, or is this a kind of a waste of time? What do people
I don't think it's a waste of time, but I get it. I don't know about everybody else. Just my husband runs into this all the time because they're working on a laboratory management system that is from the 80s.
Yeah.
And they keep piling on things to it.
It's called a big ball of mud.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's awful. And one of the people who was initially a chemist, self-taught programmer, great guy, but his thinking process, when my husband goes through some of his code, and he still works there, so it makes it awkward, because they like each other and anything, but it's like, what the?
Yeah.
It's along the same line. I mean, it's like, can we make this like,
yeah. So,
so not criticizing this code you showed us. I'm just trying to learn from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the other one I was going to say. This is you aren't going to need it. Wow. You ain't going to need it. I don't know why. Oh, yeah. I've never heard somebody say you aren't going to need it. It's always you ain't going to need it. But it's just the same kind of thing. Like you're building all these abstractions and things, imagining that in the future you're going to need some variation on your randomization algorithm or whatever, and you ain't going to need it. So like, just being conscious about the choices you make about what to make abstract and what to leave as just repeated code or code that's literal is going to be a long-term learning process. This is not something that you're not even going to get a really full sense of the problem by the end of this program probably, but over years you're going to kind of encounter this kind of thing. I've had coworkers who they like, and then this is used to justify, like, all of this stuff is just situational based. It's like every situation is its own thing. Like I've been working with people who like just go Yagni, say, well, hey, we should think about this ahead of time. And it's like, Yagni, no, like that's, so all of this stuff is just like, it's based on people's experience, and it's often there's truth to it, but none of this stuff is always like the right or wrong. It means it's really like everything else. There is no, provable, this is the right way to do stuff. People are still, this is only a couple of years old, this whole duplication, people are still trying to figure a lot of this stuff out and have not succeeded and won't succeed anytime soon. So, I think getting comfortable with just the adventure of sort of trying to make your way and trying to do the best you can, and then often failing and having to deal with that is just part of it. That's just how the process goes.
It's the pendulum, like a pendulum back and forth, and you just kind of go with.
Anyway, the shuffle algorithm is, copied from Stack Overflow. It will jumble up our array, and you call it here on the card symbols that are, or the array of symbols that's returned from this map function. And this time I'll pick 2 of diamonds. So 1, 2. Now it's over here, 2. See how it seems it's sort of moving this way, but it's really not here in this position in the internals. It's just being displayed here. And now it knows, because it really was here in the internal position, or else the computer wouldn't have said the trick is done. But it's, before it prints them to the screen, it's shuffling it up. So I have less of a, the person, the audience or whatever might realize that, hey, it's always in row 2 when it answers, but they're not going to notice, hey, it's always right here when it answers. So it's a little better. It's a little more obscure. And that's the function, Latonia. That's all, the only part that I left out.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and of course, like in typical Gus fashion, there was a long tangent into a bunch of random philosophy. So hopefully some of that was interesting. Yeah. Let's look at some of the array exercises. Let's just do some of these. Okay. What was it? It was basic data structures, right? This was the homework, right? So this is kind of the answers to the homework, but and don't take a screenshot of my screen and then turn it in as your homework, please, because honor system. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. This is yeah. It's just explaining what arrays are. So length, define variable called uArray, complete the statement by assigning an array of at least 5 elements. Change this line, equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's easy. Oh, 1 string, 1 number, and 1 Boolean, but 3, it'll be the string 3, and it'll be true. Sure.
Excuse me, Gus.
Yes.
Is that the one? Was that the one with the 5 levels?
5 levels.
Yeah, you did it too quick for me to tell. I don't think it was. There was one that had 5 levels, or deeper and deepest.
No, so
no, that's not it. Okay.
This is just the first array thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Fabili, you're off to a start though. That's a good start. Did you get the second? So you got the second one too, and then got stuck on the third one?
I got the second one and I got stuck on the third and the fourth one.
Okay.
And said I would try it again this afternoon with more of an awake brain.
do you want to, I mean, do you want me to solve them? Is that okay if I just
yes, please do.
Okay.
Yes. Much appreciated.
But please go through and do them yourself, just to type, because a lot of this is training your eyes, training your fingers. That's an important part of it. So even if you see what me do the thing to get it to finish, like really, really important that you do it yourself, because of that essential training is just something that nobody else, you can't just look at it and get that training. You have to do the practice. That's the part of it that's a craft. So please do them for yourself as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Only change code above this line. Let my array, what are we doing? In order to complete this challenge, set the second position index 1 of my array to anything you want besides the letter B. Okay. Equals the capital letter B. Haha. Whoops. 1. So index 1 is capital B. Let's see if you like that. Haha, fooled you. It's still B, but it's a capital. All right. We've defined a function mixed numbers, which we are passing an array as an argument. Okay.
Gus, can you hold on one moment?
Yeah.
How is that possible when the stuff is like case sensitive? Like, how did that go through with it being a capital B when it was a lowercase b?
Well, because it is case sensitive. It's when it says here, set the second position, index 1 of the array to anything you want besides the letter B. It doesn't mean, it does not mean the English letter B in any of its forms. It means the literal character that you see in the gray box. And whenever they use this kind of gray text, they're, well, I guess maybe not all the time. I don't know. It's not perfect, but they don't mean the English letter B, because also their tests are that my array should be equal to letter A, letter B, letter C, letter D, or not be equal. This doesn't mean the letter in the English alphabet. It means the character, the exact character you see here. And the capital B character and the lowercase b character are two different things. And by the way, in a lot of places in JavaScript, like you can't do this. You can't, my array with a lowercase a is a completely different, you could have two, now I would never do this, but this would be a completely different variable than this. You could have two right next to each other with slightly different capitalization if you were, I guess, crazy and you wanted to give yourself a really hard time and everybody who tried to work with your code a really hard time. They are completely different things. So when they say letter B, they don't mean alphabet letter B that you understand. They mean the actual character that the computer uses, and these are two different characters, just like anything else. So that's why it works. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. This is UTF-8 probably, Carolyn. It's an extension of ASCII. So ASCII letters are 7 bits. If you remember, those bits are ones and zeros. You put together 7 bits, and that is the old standard, ASCII. There's even older standards. Yeah, that's the older one, but most of the time these days they've used a full 8 bits, and the first bit tells you that basically the rest of the bits are ASCII. And that's called UTF-8. So UTF-8 is ASCII plus the bit, the one more bit that says, hey, this is just ASCII. Now, if you flip that bit to not that bit, the other way, 1 or the 0, I forget which one is which, then it is UTF-16 or UTF more. So that tells you basically look beyond just the 8 bits. And that's where you get all the card symbols and the character, katakana and the Chinese characters and the, Russian alphabet, symbols, all kinds of other stuff. But I think in this is probably just full on UTF. So you could type whatever you want, but effectively the first bit tells you the rest of them are ASCII-like bits. And anyway, capital B, it works. Capital B and lowercase b are both in the ASCII standard. They're completely different characters, even though they are the same letter in the real world. Okay. Add items to array with push and unshift. Define a function mixed numbers which are passing an array as an argument. Okay, here, passing an array. Modify the function by using push and unshift to add I23 to the beginning of the array and 7v. What? What? This is weird. Okay. So to the beginning, you use unshift. So we would do r.unshift. The first one, we're going to have to call it 3 times, I guess. To and then 7 this and 9 to the end. Okay. So unshift sticks things on the front, this end of the array, and push sticks things on the end. So, oh, I got it wrong too. Watch. This is not going to be right, but 7 push VII push 9. So this is kind of close, but it's not. So yeah, it doesn't return the things in that order. So see now, and it prints down here the console output. So we could look, we're seeing 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's going on? Does anyone know?
It looks like it's reading from the reverse, from the bottom up.
Just for those 3 though.
Yeah.
So what's the commonality between those 3?
It looks like those are the unshifts that go in the
Yeah,
front.
those are the unshifts. So
when I did this, I put them all into one. I didn't separate them out.
Neither did I.
Yeah, and it went through, but I can't.
What do you mean you put them all into one?
Like I did the array dot unshift, and I had them into one.
Oh,
set.
like comma like this.
Yeah, I had the commas. Yeah.
Maybe that works. Okay. So does that work? It does. Okay. Well, why doesn't it work like this? Can anyone explain this? I didn't know that you could put multiple things in unshift like that. All right, you want me to explain it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you have your array here, and the code proceeds in order. This is synchronous code. It goes this line, this line, this line. So what happens is first you unshift I to the front of this. So it would be like this, I, stick it on the front. Next, you unshift 2 on the front of this. So you put 2 here. So you get it? Next, you unshift 3. So it's you're stacking things onto the front, which is piling them in effect. They end up in backwards order from when they were called. Each time you do it, you stick something on the current front of the array, which piles up in the backwards order. Then you see the code.
So we would have to load them in the opposite of what we want them to appear, is what you're saying?
For unshift, not for push,
Right.
because push works on the other end, and so you're fine.
Right.
But yeah, so you'd have to do it like this, or I guess use the comma thing, because I didn't know that was a thing. That's cool. But this is perfectly fine too.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found these to be a lot challenging because there were somewhere like I did them and they went through and I have no idea why they went through. Like I followed the instructions, but I just didn't understand what was happening.
Okay. If you look, if that happens to anybody, please just drop a link in some Slack channel. Please don't just keep going and say, well, I guess I'll never figure that out. Like if you have the energy for it, please just drop a link in the Slack channel, even for tomorrow, and just say, hey, I don't understand how this one worked, but like, you know, yeah, just, and you can just grab the link from here for any, that should link right to the exercise that you're on. Yeah. So, and there's an army of instructors and TAs, and we all want to prove that we're better at JavaScript than each other. So we'll be racing to give you the explanation. Yeah. So Yeah, and I'm gonna beat Joey. I'll be like, Joey, I got it before you. And Max, haha. I'm like winner of JavaScript. Sorry. But that will probably happen. People will be like scrambling to help you. So yeah. Unless we're all asleep, and we'll do it the next day. But yeah. Okay. Pop shift takes an array as an argument, returns a new array. Modify the function using pop and shift, remove the first and last elements of the argument, and assign the removed elements to their corresponding variables so that the returned array contains their values. Change this line. Let popped equals r.pop. Let shifted equals r.shift. Whoops. I think that is what you should do. Yes. Okay. Pretty easy.
It looks easy when you do it.
Yeah. Well, so like the other thing you could do if you don't want an answer, so two possibilities. Number one, you get it right, but you don't understand why. Number two, you can't get it right. If you don't want somebody to just give you the answer, you can also say, like, copy this here, say I'm stuck on this one, or I don't understand this one. And then also just copy all your code, like your latest, just be like, here's what I've got. So here's where I am, here's where I've got. That would be so easy for people to jump right to where you are and understand what's going on. You don't need to share screen or set up a meeting or anything to do that. Like it should take a couple seconds to get to look at what's going on. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still on that one. Okay. When you get to the next one, I was able to do it using Splice like they asked. But then I got stuck on this obsession about doing it with filter, and I've kind of been going around in circles on it.
Oh boy, what is this? Remove elements from the beginning and end of the arrays using shift and pop somewhere in the middle. Splice. Oh boy, yes. Our friend Splice. 2, 2. Remove 2 elements beginning with 2. Start at 2, remove 2. Okay. Use Splice to remove elements from array so that it only contains elements that sum to the value of 10. Yeah, so Kyle, that was, you asked the question, right?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, my internet seems to be kind of screwy this morning.
Okay.
You're kind of coming in and out, so I'm sorry if I get disconnected or something, but yeah.
So there's 2 possibilities. I mean, obviously, if you had that code, paste it in and be like, hey, but
Okay, sure.
I think number one,
I mean, they're just attempts. They're not. It's like,
right. Well,
at least you can
so
see what I'm thinking now.
the first thing is filter is really intent. The intent of filter is really to look at each element in like isolation and consider it in isolation.
Oh,
and
okay.
apply something. It's going to say, run the function on this. Does it return true or false? If it returns true, keep it. If it returns false, throw it away. Now, does it run the function on this and do the same? Run the function on this. So it's really looking at each thing in isolation. And there's probably some way you could hack it, because filter, you can give it an argument that's like the whole array or something like that. But the problem here is that the goal is to look at in totality, look at the sum of all the numbers at once and remove based on whether that sum is going to be one or the other thing. So I like filter might be the wrong tool for that, just because it's more oriented around considering one each element on its own, basically. And also the other reason it might not have worked.
Okay. Well, I was also trying to figure out, like, if you add them sequentially and, like, you know, what if you just filtered out the ones that add up to a certain number?
What does that mean?
Right. Okay.
So I think the way I would do this is 2 plus 4 is 6 plus 5. That's too much. So that one has to go. Let's see. Yeah, so we need, I mean, what's a good combination? I guess you could keep the 5s, you could do 6 here and 4 here, those 2. I don't know.
Gus, can I jump
anyway,
in?
the other The other reason it might not have worked is that one of the tests here says your code should utilize the splice method. So if you never call that splice method, it's never going to pass no matter what you do. So this is like the teacher saying, oh, you solved the math problem, but you used the wrong technique. So 0, your grade is, yeah, I've gotten that before.
Common Core.
Yeah.
No more needs to be said.
No comment. I'm going to get careers in code defunded. All right. Okay. Let's see. So we need to use splice, and I guess a couple times probably r.splice. So we'll start at index 2. So we'll get rid of the 5, the 1, the set. No. Yeesh. This is tricky. You got to call this like at least twice. We either need to get rid of everything but the 5s, or let's do everything but the 5s. So 0 to and remove 2 elements. 0 and remove 2 elements. 0, 2. And I'm just going to check down here right now. After this line of code, you can see right away what would it be like. So I know now what I need to do on my next line of code. I have to start it at this point. The 5 is the first element now because it's modified the array. So I need to start at 1 and do 2 elements. Okay, now I got the 2 5s, and now I need to start at 2, index 2, not the number 2, but yeah, index 0, 1, 2, and do 2 elements. That's error. Okay, 5 and 5, that should work. Nice. So that's this in this case, you know, if there's no console.log here, you should really just add one inside where you're editing, because whenever you pause typing, it will try to rerun it, and you can see how, you know, you can check at each step what's the changes if you want to do multiple steps. And you can add a console.log if you want to be like, you know, I want to check the length right here. It'll print that too. So this is a nice technique to kind of like check how far along you are in a bigger problem, you know, to sort of gradually move towards the solution. Add items using splice. Okay. HTML colors is an argument. Modify the function using splice to remove the first 2 elements of the array and add these. Okay, that's pretty easy. Splice 0, 2, and then this. And I can already see right here, that looks pretty good. I think we're good. Copy using slice 1 to 3. Okay. Extract information from the argument array and return a new array that contains the string elements warm and sunny. So that's index 2 and index 3. Now the difference, there's 2 tricky parts about this one. The first is that let's get a log down here to see what we got. The first is that slice, the arguments work differently. So if we did slice 2, 2, because we want 2 elements, that's an empty array now. That doesn't work. Slice works from index this to index this. It's not starting at index and the number of things to remove. You need a 2, 4 here. And that's just, slice and splice are just, I mean, it's like designed to confuse you, like this keyword. I don't know where they came up with all of that stuff, but slice, it's starting index, ending index. Splice, it's starting index, number of items to count. So that would be a 2 if it was splice, but it's not. Okay, so we have warm and sunny. The other thing about it is that we don't want to return our original array, because, you know, even if we do this r.slice, if we log it, it doesn't change, slice doesn't change the array at all. So the other big thing is that slice doesn't modify the original array. So we can't return that array, and we can return what we slice. That'll work. So,
excuse me, Gus, is that the one where you also, when you're counting the index, it counts up to, but before what you put in for the last, okay.
Right.
Because that's what was getting me.
Yeah, it's like a cursor, like it's like as if you put the cursor right before the element with this number as the index. So 0, 1, 2, start here, 3, 4, end there. So you only get these two. And a comma, I guess, but ignore the comma. Yes. The comma is just syntax, you know, it's not, the comma isn't data. It's just, you know, instructing the computer. And you can leave a trailing comma, by the way. A lot of times you just leave it there. It doesn't care. Okay. Spread operator. Yes. If we looked at this, spread operator copy all of an array's elements in order with a simple and highly readable syntax. Yes, yes, yes. Define a copy takes an array and a number, return a new array made up of num copies of the original array. We've done most of the work for you, but it doesn't quite work right yet. Modify this function using spread syntax so that it works correctly. Hint, another method we have already covered might come in handy here. What? This is tricky. Array number. New array is an empty array. While the number is greater than or equal to 1, okay, and then count backwards. Okay, so count down this many times to 1. That'll run this loop num times. That makes sense. That's an interesting way to structure it. I've never really used this style, but maybe that's, you know, easier. Okay. We've done most of the work for you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so each time we need to copy the array. Oh, and the method they're talking about is push. So we make a copy of this and push to this. So new r dot push, and we're going to copy with the spread operator r. So we spread the elements of this input array into a new array, which makes a copy. And then that is the argument to push, and we push that into our new array of arrays. This should, you know, this is confusing because the shape of this and the shape of this are different. So I don't agree with their namings here, but anyway, it works. Define a function spread out that returns variable sentence. Modify the function using the spread operator so it returns the array. Learning to code is fun. Huh? Yeah, returns a variable sentence. Okay, so they're just saying let sentence equals learning dot 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 fragment is fun. So it's going to spread the contents of this array in place right here. So it'll put 2 and then code right in here. Change mutators. No guarantee where a particular piece will be or if the element still exists. Index of to find elements. Okay. Quick check takes an array and an element, modify the function using index of so it returns true if the past element exists and false if it does not. Array dot index of element. Oh, I already I already solved. I was like, this is done. But I did this in another class. I was like, what's wrong? I thought this would work, but that's this is, didn't we do this in another class? Okay, I guess this is stuff that's in one of the other videos, right? Because I've done it in another class. Maybe. Well, maybe not. When was that? I don't know. If anyone can find the other time I solved that, I don't remember. New function filtered array, which takes R, a nested array, and elem as arguments. Okay, returns a new array. Elem represents an element that may or may not be present on one or more of the arrays nested within R. Modify the function using a for loop to return a filtered version of the past array such that any array nested within R containing elem has been removed. Wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to say for let I equals 0 plus r dot length plus. We'll say const inner array thing equals r index I. And what am I allowed to use? I'm not allowed, can I, let's see. Also, this is wrong. The technique that's most flexible and allows us the greatest amount of control is a simple for loop. No, you could do it with the reduce too, but they haven't even mentioned reduce yet. So they're just pretending. Okay. But for this inner array thing, so we grab this like that, and then we need to check whether element is in the array. And it never said we're not allowed to use the other functional stuff. Like I could put another for loop in here. Let's do it this way, I guess, first. And let's use, in general, when you have a for loop inside another for loop, if you reuse this name, it could be risky because you could be wanting to get another, so it's conventional to actually use J or just start counting from, if you're inside already in a for loop that has an I, it's good to leave it available. So we'll do J.
And so if they were layered, would you just keep going? Like you would go on to the next letter and?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
K, I've never seen L, but if you get to that point and you have 4 nested for loops, it's going to take a while for your computer to run it anyway at that point. And you might want to ask somebody whether it makes sense. J, and then you have to remember to do J in here. And I always forget. So this is like anyway, we'll do this a different way in a second, but if, wow. Man, I don't even know how to do this. Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay. Like, let's see. Const has the elem equals false. If inner array thing J equals elem, then has the elem equals true. And then outside this whole for loop, we say if not has the elem, then.
Are you missing an E in elem and D, and has TH elem true?
Oh, thank you. Good eyes. Your eyes are getting better. New R dot push our inner array thing. I guess I didn't need to assign to this at all because this is actually shorter than this, but whatever.
Mm.
Okay, does that work? Okay, it worked. It's very confusing though. Here's what I would do. I would get rid of this whole thing. And I would say we still save inner array thing, why not? But if not inner array thing dot sum. This is another array method. That will check and it will return true.
Not inner array thing dot sum.
This will return true if any of the items in the inner array thing satisfy return true from this function you passed that.
Okay.
So if any of them equal the element, it will be true. And then if it's not true, that means none of them have it. Or you could do it this way. There's another converse. If everything in here does not equal the element, that's maybe that's a little clearer. Then you do new or push here. And it likes that too. So some and every, I don't know if we talked about those, but those are these check either respectively. Some checks if anything in the array returns a true from this. And every checks if everything in the array returns a true from this. It's a not equal
So
here.
it's like and versus or.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like an and versus or, but over the whole array. And then all combining them, and it's like looping through the array and doing and. Yeah. So that's another way to do it. I don't know how they would want you to do it. Let's see. Get help. Get a hint.
Thank you for showing those, because those were the types of things I was trying to do with the filter thing, and I didn't quite know how to do that. So those were the types of ways I was trying to think, but I was getting myself confused. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So I didn't have time to get to these at the end. They were at the end of one of those days. I was going through all the different array methods, but these are really, really handy. And in the case where you want one of these, it's really nice to have that. Yeah.
Well, not just those, but the whole way you thought that out with like the for loops and the ifs, and that was what I think my question on the other one was more like how you would do something hypothetically with all those things within the function.
Yeah, generally, generally, if you were going to do this without the fancy thing, you need to be saving some value outside your for loop. The other way, you kind of need to store this keep this thing has the element outside the for loop. And then this little latch here will like flip it to true. This effectively does the same thing as sum dot sum. If sum, it flips to true and it never flips back to false, and it goes through the whole array. The difference with sum is maybe it will optimize. It won't have to run on everything in the array. It would stop right where it finds. In this case, maybe you could put a break if you wanted it to be a little more efficient, but I wouldn't be surprised if the browser just figures out how to optimize that for you. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Okay. Nested. Oh, this is the one. I don't know who mentioned this, the nested, deeply nested arrays.
I got it, but I ended up counting the brackets, and I counted 10. And I was just thoroughly confused. I'm like, they're saying it's 5 deep, but I just don't get it. I just don't understand.
So this is one, maybe, let's see. For deepest is 5. Okay. The deep array is nested 2 levels deep. So 1 and 2, right? This is still 2 because there's a comma. This is a sibling of this. And they're doing this with the indentation. They're making it a little more easy to see with the indentation. So there's 1, there's 2. This closes it. This is still 2, 3, closes that. So basically the way that you can count this is every time you see an open square brace, you add one to the level. And every time you see this brace, you subtract one. And obviously you need commas between the siblings or else JavaScript will complain. But you do 1, 2, 1, subtract 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay, so I hate to jump in, but can you please say that some other way? Because I just don't.
I'm not saying this is a good technique. It's just a way of, so every time you open a new square brace, you are nesting effectively one deeper. And every time you close a square brace, you are ending one of the arrays that's nested deeper and going out to its parent context or its parent array. So inside this brace, you're nested one level deep. Inside this brace, you're nested 2 levels deep, this stuff. But as soon as this ends, this is a matching brace for this. As soon as this ends, now you're back to this one, the same level that you're nesting in this one. So that's 1 level deep again. So it's probably easier in this case if you grab this whole thing and paste it over on the right. The editor is going to match. It will actually, whenever you put the cursor on one of the square braces or around it, it's going to highlight the matching pair. So you can see this easier if you put it here and you click here, you can see where it ends, where that, so there's 1 and there's 2, and that's where that one ends. 3, you can see it ends right here. And this one ends here, this one ends here. So these two are inside this, but this ends right here, goes back to level 1. This one ends all the way down here. This one ends here, this one ends here, and so forth. It is very confusing. I mean, obviously, it's still very confusing, but in this and in VS Code, that's a good technique when you get here. And also, I just want to give a little plug here. This is why you want to be more careful about your indentation, because if you get sloppy with your indentation, it'll start to look like this. And you can still use the tools to help you, but there's really no good way to train yourself to look at this and make a whole lot of sense of it. So this is why you want to be neat about your indentation. Because if you ever have a data structure that starts to look like this, good luck figuring it out when it's all over the place like this. Again, you can still fall back on this tool. And in VS Code, I believe there's a shortcut that Max will probably teach you that I didn't mention for 2 weeks. So I'm really sorry about that. But there's I think there's a reindent code. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so you do Command Shift P and type reindent, and it will fix. So if you mess up all your indentation, it'll need an upgrade. I can't believe I didn't even mention this. And I've given some feedback on the homework, oh, watch your indentation. And I'm sorry. And by the way, I never use it myself because I'm such an obsessive code neaterizer person that I never have to. So I forget that this is even a thing. But yeah, it's yeah. That's a really nice, important thing. Command Shift P in Visual Studio, reindent. This will make things nicer and easier to look at. So we should drop that in the resources or something, Karen. That's a resource. Anyway. Okay. So yeah, we'll do this one. I guess we might as well go to the top of the hour, but I, want to start winding down. If there's anything else, Carolyn, we can try to figure out your desktop folder too, but let's see what we're supposed to do here. Exactly 5 levels of depth. Jeez. Oh man, I'm not going to do this. This is just tedious. I'm not doing that right now. This is going to be a confusing one, but it's just a matter of figuring out which level you're at and everything. So yeah. Yep. Yeah. So Karen, you go to here and here, or sorry, Carolyn, you go to Finder and Preferences, and you see desktop is checked in the sidebar thing.
I was actually just working on that.
Okay.
I found under users my Carolyn Sprague one, and everything is there. I just have to get it in the sidebar, but yeah. So hopefully it'll be okay.
Okay. I wonder if there's a good way to just reset Finder.
Yeah, let me just back to it.
Reset all Finder settings to default. Go menu, go to folder. Oh.
It's okay.
Oh man, it says delete the plist file. I don't know.
Users, Carolyn Sprague, and they're all there.
Okay.
And if we'll go in desktop, CIC code, CIC careers and code, cohort 2, module 4. The last thing we did is there. All right, so
Okay.
that's the one we want. And users, Carolyn Sprague, desktop. Documents, downloads, applications, verification. So do I have my code?
Yep. If anyone else has questions and again, you get stuck on any of these exercises, paste the where you are, your code. We'll be happy to help. And please try all of these array things. If you didn't already do them, please still do them.
All right. Okay, I found them. They didn't go away. Just got to put them back in my sidebar. I don't know why or how or what or with all. But that's
Okay.
why I left Zoom, because I logged out, shut down, restarted, just, So I think I'm okay.
Okay.
Put me
Yeah.
on Slack if I'm not.
Yeah, please. And we can do I actually don't know how to do Karen knows how to do take control of your mouse to do this plist thing, but I'll send her
No, I don't think we have to do that. And I don't know
Okay.
what happened and why, but they're there. Everything is where it belongs. It's just not showing up in the sidebar. I don't even need to know why, as long as I can get it back there or I can get to it somehow. Sidebar is just a convenient thing anyway. The stuff is still there.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, you didn't. That's good. That's good.
That Dr. Jekyll guy, he didn't do much harm. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like.
this is how it is here.
Yeah. Well, there's something going on. You have a case of gremlins. It's okay.
I don't know.
Sometimes
It's
happens.
just it. I wouldn't go that far. It's what it is. Then life goes on, and that's why you save early, you save often, and you save to 50,000 places. So
Yeah, and you know what's you use email, right? You have email.
oh yeah.
If you want a nice fail-safe way and you don't trust GitHub, you don't trust your desktop, I do this sometimes. You email that to yourself. You just attach it to an email it to yourself, and then
throw it in my
pretty
drive.
safe. You're not going to go delete your emails usually. So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That's cool. But I think it's an X file.
Yeah.
We watched that when it was first
there's-
on. It's a lot of fun. And then of course the movie came out. This was a special collection edition shirt that I got, but I don't really believe in this stuff. But if other people do, there's no offense intended.
There are
but
things
just
we
a
don't
fun show.
understand. There are things we don't understand, and some
Oh,
of
yeah.
them are
Yeah,
computer
every day.
computer gremlins. Yeah.
Every day.
Latonia, yeah, you're welcome, and thanks
Thank
for
you so much.
all of your work, and really everyone, thanks for all of your hard work, and let us know in Slack about the exercises. I'll see you around. I'll be back. I gotta look up when. exactly. But I'm
Yeah.
doing at least like 2 more weeks, I think. So
Yeah, well, we'll still see you in Slack and Google
cool.
Classroom,
Yeah.
places like that. You can't hide and we know where you work. I'm just teasing you.
Yep.
But
Yep.
round of applause for everybody, Gus and Karen and everybody else.
Yeah.
Here we
you guys
go.
are doing great.
Oh,
We're doing better than we think we are, right? Tell me that. Please tell me that.
yeah. It is a process. It takes longer than you want it to take. And I think next week I think next week is going to be a lot less intense than this week, because I think that's part of Max's intent is to start we need to start reiterating some of these things and pointing out the
Absorbing it.
ones that you're going to be using right away. So a lot of the stuff, it won't be your first exposure to it anymore. So, it'll start to gradually get easier. Yeah.
And that's how learning works. So, yeah.
Yep. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Have a great weekend, rest of your weekend, and good luck next week.
Well, guess what I'm doing?
Not going outside because it's like 50 degrees, right?
Oh, that's all right. No, this isn't the birthday weekend we had last weekend. So although I worked most of that, I'm going to be living in JavaScript for a while.
Oh, yes. Maybe outside in a coat or something. Yeah.
That's okay. I'm good. The sun
right.
is coming in,
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, definitely.
See y'all later.
All right. Bye.
Stay well. Peace.